We are back for yet another regular season of Penguins hockey. I'm back for my own little personal off season, and I'm very excited to get back into this, making videos again. And just basically, I'm so excited that hockey is back. It's been really boring the last couple of weeks. Basically, in this video, I'm just going to give you guys my current opinion, my views on this team, where it stands, what I expect going into this year, from each player and also the team as a whole. Now, with the roster being finalized, am I shocked at any decisions they made? Obviously not. This was the team. We knew it. There was a couple guys fighting for that fourth line spot, but other than that, it's basically the same team. A little bit of a new look blue line, and if anything, the most interest was on that, who was going to make the team. They have way too many defensemen, and I will talk about that because I feel like that was poor cap management from Ron Hextall, and I actually loved his offseason. I just didn't like the fact that he didn't create extra cap space. I'm sure he tried, but to move out any roster player, to just give yourself more flexibility, I feel like is hurting them right now, right before we start the season. And it's not giving them the chance to put out their best possible roster. Now, I'm not saying they're putting out a bad roster, right? Probably won't even make that much of a difference, but it's obvious they wanted Ty Smith with the NHL team. But unfortunately for Ty Smith and the Penguins, he's going to have to start in the AHL, and it seems like he's going to spend a good few weeks, maybe months to start down there, and I think he's more than NHL ready. They had too many defensemen, and we're just over the cap. The only way they can get under the cap and not lose anybody was going with Ty Smith down, because he didn't have to clear waivers. It just really sucks that Ty Smith, who I think was going to be a sleeper pick for, a breakout season this year, is going to have to start in the AHL. Now, as far as the forwards go, Josh Archibald and Ryan Poehling are your 12th and 13th forwards that made the team this year. Sam Poulin was one of the final cuts, so he's definitely a little higher up on the depth chart this year, and I do expect to see him play his first NHL game this year. I'm not mad at them cutting Sam Poulin at all. I think he's going to see big minutes in the AHL, which is going to benefit him. I think he's going to have a breakout season in the AHL, and at the end of the day, this is still the Pittsburgh Penguins, so when they have the 4 or 5 injuries in one shot, he's going to get his chance. He's higher up on the depth chart this year. And as far as Archibald goes, who I think will beat out Poehling for that final fourth line spot when Blueger comes back, I would have rather had a Puustinen or even a Zohorna on that fourth line, right? The younger legs. But it's not a decision that, will make me furious with the coaching staff, right? They went with the more experienced guy, a guy who has been here before, a little faster too. I'm not going to complain. I want to see what he can do. Now, enough of this depth fourth line talk. Let's get to the good stuff. The top 6 will look a little different to start this year. Not too different, but we're not going to get the familiar first line that we're used to with Guentzel, Crosby, Rust, one of the best lines in the league. We're going to be getting Guentzel, Crosby, Raquel, as it seems. In the very few moments that Raquel was with Crosby and Guentzel last year, it was magic, goal after goal. And I think he played a total of like 10 minutes. And I might even be generous with that. I think it was a couple minutes he got on that line. And, it was just always offense. If that line stays together, and it should, I think we're going to see something magical from our first line. And this is coming from a team who had one of the best first lines last year. This is no disrespect to Rust. And I actually like this because I do think Rust helps out Malkin better. So this is like a win-win. Rust and Malkin are great together. I feel like Rust always brings out the best in Malkin. And, the biggest wild card on that line is Jason Zucker. And I'm very optimistic about Jason Zucker this year, and I know a lot of people are like, why? The guy sucks, this and that, always injured. You may be right, but this is a new year, and he's fully healthy right now. So unless there's any more injuries on the way, I think Zucker is going to do something that we haven't seen yet, and that is just produce. I think he's going to have his best year this year, and I'm not really expecting the Penguins to re-sign Zucker. So honestly, buddy, go off. I want you to get paid so you can make the Penguins look good this year. And if that's the case, alongside with Malkin and Rust, you got a top line of, prime Guentzel right now, Crosby, who doesn't look like he's slowing down, and motivated Rickard Rakell, who is, I think, offensively a better player than Brian Rust, or at least has more offensive skill. If all that clicks, which it should, that just might be our best top 6 of all time. No, I'm kidding. Relax. Over dramatic, right? I'm kidding. But a really good top 6. I'm kidding. It's not our best top 6 of all time, but might just be top 3 of the era, of the Crosby-Malkin era. If all healthy, I'm thinking Crosby close to 100 points. That's what he did last year, on pace for. Guentzel, 40 goals, maybe 50, man. Like, this guy Guentzel, he wants to get paid soon too. His contract is up in 2 years. And you're telling me Jay Guentzel doesn't have the potential to score 50 goals? A guy who's gotten 40 twice and, finds so many ways to score goals. I'm not saying he's going to score 50, but it's a possibility. As far as Rickard Rakell, I'm so excited for this because they have him locked up pretty long term at like $5 million. I think this guy can make that contract look so silly. by like game 20 of this year. Like, I think this guy can go off. I think he can score 20, 25. I think he can get almost 70 points if he stays on this line. And the beauty of all this, like, look at last year, for example, right? Crosby, Gensel, Rust was that first line, and that was the line that Mike Sullivan intended for, all year. But there was always, injuries, or, he was trying to shake things up. So the plan B was, take Rust off, put Rodriguez there. That was always like the plan B if there was an injury or whatever. This year, your plan B is your plan A of last year, which is one of the best lines in the whole league, and that is putting Rust back on the Crosby unit, which I'm expecting at some point this year. I have no complaints with whatever first line they want to put out there. As long as it's got Gensel and Crosby on it, it's going to be magical. Now, that's high praise for the top six, but as far as the bottom six goes, I'm just not convinced yet. Like, they can't be done here, obviously, right? It's game one of the season. I'm assuming if they do make the playoffs, the bottom six needs to be a little different in game one in April versus, game one in October. Heinen is down there, which is huge. I'm expecting the same from Heinen as last year. No reason for him to fall off. Now, who haven't I mentioned yet, right? The guy who I think can hold this whole thing together. If he wakes up and does what I know he can do, all of a sudden your bottom six is looking a lot better than I'm thinking, and that guy is Kasperi Kapanen. If he comes in and just plays complete different than what he did last year. Whatever last year was, leave it at that. Come through, and I know he can do it. Play like he did in his first year with the Penguins. All of a sudden, I'm looking at that bottom six like, you know what? You have something. Now, as far as the defense goes, it's a bit different. I actually do like it. Would have loved if Ty Smith could start, but we already talked about that. Nothing we can do about it. I think Joseph is going to fit nicely in that bottom pair with Jan Ruda, who I also really like. Last year, we had Chad Ruhwedel playing 70-something games. I love Chad Ruhwedel, one of the greatest seventh defensemen of all time in Penguins franchise history. I love what he does, right? He comes in, he'll never make a mistake. You don't notice him, and that's amazing for a seventh defenseman coming in as a replacement due to injury. Give you those 12, 14 minutes, kill a few penalties, really just play that solid, mistake-free hockey, and then go home. Like, I love that. But I will say this, I don't think your team is deep enough if Chad Ruhwedel is in your top six. Now, bringing in a guy like Jan Ruda, who's a bit experienced, has won cups with the Lightning, I do think it's a bit of an upgrade, and I love that, Ruhwedel can go back to being that seventh defenseman. Then you'll have another big, wild card here and can make or break this whole defense from being one of the best to mediocre, and that is Jeff Petrie, man. What are we getting from Jeff Petrie? Because, forget what he did with the Canadiens last year. I think we're going to get at least one good year of Petrie. He's motivated, he's playing on a good team, and, ever since they fired their guy last year, the Canadiens, and brought in St. Louis, I believe Petrie had 20-something points in his last 30 games. So obviously it's in there, it's somewhere there, and it will help the Penguins, lessen Chris Letang's workload, who, is going to be starting year one of a 6-year deal at this age. You don't want to be giving Chris Letang 31 minutes, game in, game out next year. You want to put him closer to 25 minutes, 23, because he is getting older. You don't want to burn him out. But Chris Letang is a freak. The guy will play 40 minutes every night and be perfectly fine. Like, that guy, these guys, all of them, the way they work out nowadays, but especially Chris Letang, the guy's cardio is insane. But it's not smart. I know it's insane. Let's not, test it. Let's give the guy some easier nights. And if he has a good year, this team is going places, man. That's a deep blue line. And, injuries happen. Boom, Chad Ruhwedel's in. Mark Friedman you call up. Ty Smith you call up. Like, he's my 8th, 9th option I just mentioned. Like, are you kidding me? Then finally, the goaltending. We're going back again with Casey DeSmith as the backup. Tristan Jarry as your starter. No problem with that. Only problem is, please, Lord, can they be healthy to start the playoffs? That's not even their fault. You can't move on from your goaltending tandem because they get injured, right? Like, I guess you could blame them, because it's 2 years in a row they were both not available for us in the postseason, and that's the reason why we lost both postseasons. But it's just unfortunate luck. I have full confidence in Tristan Jarry this year. I haven't had this much confidence in a Penguins goalie since maybe like Matt Murray in his rookie year, right? Like, that was a long time ago now, you know what I mean? Let me know what you guys think. How are you feeling with the team this year? Who do you think is going to be the biggest breakout surprise player this year? I'm going to go with Ryan Poehling if he plays, because the guy has some talent. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.